Ultra progressives and DSA darlings keep notching primary wins.
Oh my God, here we fucking go. More fear mongering. So the reason why they're doing this, by the way, is because again, they have no line of attack whatsoever. They have no line of attack whatsoever against they have no line of defense against their policies, their agenda. The Republican agenda is dog shit. It's causing chaos. People recognize how unbelievably corrupt Trump is. And also, if you don't have the goods, if you're not delivering the goods, if you're not actually, fixing the inflation crisis, for example, obviously you're not going to maintain your base of support. Okay? And that's unfortunately where we're at. I have found myself in the crosshairs of the Republican Party. I am going to be the prominent line of attack. I am now the transgender Antifa in the eyes of the Republicans. And they're doing their very best. They're doing their very best to attack me. Now, of course, the defense, the greatest line of defense I have against these kinds of attacks is the fact that I have my own platform. I have my own audience. I have my own base of support. So, of course, we have the capacity to push back against this propaganda by saying the truth, by showing context, by making sure that people understand that this is silly. This is completely ridiculous. And they're only doing this because they have nothing to defend, nothing to hold on to. So it's important for us in this community to push back to the best of our ability. It's important for us to reach out to liberals, right? Who might fall victim to this kind of propaganda, especially because the liberal media outlets are also leaning into it. I have unfortunately made an enemy, not just of the Republican Party, but also of a lot of very powerful people in the Democratic Party as well, and certainly their corporate benefactors, the executives, the big donors that donate to both of these parties. Okay? That's just the reality. So that's where we're at. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you have every day now, you see stuff like this. Manhattan Institute, this reactionary think tank, will clip me saying the Democrats should be punished for factionalism and forced to follow the party line, half jokingly, engaging in this kind of analysis, where I say there needs to be robust debate amongst Democrats. But then once that robust debate is over, when the primaries are over, that the consultants and the media class that still actively impede on the Democratic Party line should be punished, right? Should be outcasted. But then you have liberals, quote unquote liberals, like this guy highlighting this, right? Highlighting this message, saying it's an authoritarian language. Now, once again, this is the supposed liberals. So the people that I'm actually talking about, the think tank individuals, the individuals that work at think tanks that claim to be Democrats, that claim to be liberals, doing this thing that opens up a new line of attack. Okay? Third Way is doing this. The Center for American Progress is doing this. These are prominent liberal think tanks that get a lot of play in Washington, D.C., but don't have a real base of support. They don't have a real base of support at all, but they too see me as a threat. They are united in their hatred of me. And I welcome their hatred, but I can't go at it alone. So at some point, we do have to harden our defenses. The professional misunderstanders that claim to speak for this larger base, that claim to speak for this larger base in the Democratic Party, do not have a real base of support. They do not have the interests of the masses at their heart. But unfortunately, they have a lot of control over what the party does. And right now, we are in a battle to bring back that control to the left flank, to bring back that control to the truest democratic expression, what the voters actually want. Because at the end of the day, what they oppose is the democratic process. And we've seen that. They can't run around and yell, oh, you fucking stupid voters, you're voting in the wrong way. So they try to engage in this disciplining operation of someone who speaks to the anxiety of the masses, someone like myself, someone who is capable of connecting a large chunk of the most active base of support within the Democratic Party with adequate substitutes, with left populist candidates, people like Francesca Hong, people like Abdul El-Sayed, people like Zoran Mamdani. That is why, that is precisely the reason why they're doing this. Third Way has decided that I am a primary villain in today's American democratic process. It is insane at a time when the Republican Party is demonstrating fascist tendencies, when they have moved beyond liberal democracy. There are those who claim to be Democrats, there are those who claim to be liberals, who are choosing to collaborate with the corporate fascist principles demonstrated by the Republicans by attacking their left flank, by attacking Democrats, by attacking the idea, by attacking the goal of creating a Senate Democratic majority. This has happened throughout history. Liberals, some of them, have collaborated with fascists, specifically in Nazi Germany and even in fascist Italy, in Mussolini's Italy, thinking that they can appease the fascists and ultimately control them, that the communists, that the socialists, the trade unionists actually presented a far graver danger to the interests of capital. The titans of industry that were worried about work stoppages, that were worried about the growth of communist sentiment, socialist sentiment, trade unionist sentiment, the growth of the working class movement. We all saw what happened. But there's also the other side of the story, when liberals, once it got really bad, and once this behemoth, this fascist monster was growing and creating a real ever-present danger in Eastern Europe and also the Western Front as well, they coalesced. FDR, a social democrat, Winston Churchill, got behind Stalin. So on the one hand, there's a story of failure where liberals turned around and collaborated with the fascists, and that actually fed the movement, that grew the power that fascists had, and they seized control of all aspects of their governments. But then there's also the other side of that story as well. There's also the other side of that story. I hope we are more FDR and less appeasement this time around, armed with the knowledge of what happens when those who are supposed to be anti-fascists, instead of opposing the fascists, choose to oppose their left flank. Okay? After Abdul El-Sayed's win in Michigan, a D.C.-based advocacy group, Third Way, will now spend $15 million to attack the left. They frame themselves as moderate Democrats. Why aren't they spending that money attacking the GOP? The answer requires explaining who they are. Stoller reports the board of Third Way has 33 people, and the vast majority, and I mean overwhelming, are Wall Street financiers interested in encouraging consolidation. The rest are corporate lawyers and lobbyists doing the same, plus a billionaire heiress. For instance, the vice chair to Third Way is David Heller, formerly the global head of equity trading for Goldman Sachs. He's currently a private investor with roles in alternative asset management and NYDIG, a Bitcoin miner. David A. Coulter is at a private equity firm, Warburg is former JP Morgan in the office. Bill Daley is the son of Chicago Mayor Richard Daley. He's had lobbying roles at JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and a board of asset and board seats at Boeing, Abbott Labs, Merck, and Fannie Mae. Calm down. It's going to be fine. It's just a minor F. It's just a blip. A friend told me a story about Bill Daley, who was the chair of Al Gore's campaign in 2000. She went up to him a few years after that loss and gave him some words of consolation and complaint about Bush. Daley looked at her and said, "Don't worry, the right man won." One of the more noxious Obama officials, a man named Raj Date, the first head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He wasn't very good, but he then cycled instantly through the revolving door to finance. He's now a fintech and crypto lobbyist and investor. John Dyson is the chair of Milberg Capital Management, a private investment firm that manages the manufacturing company, the Vineyard and Wine Group, and a hedge fund. He's the former official of New York City Mayor Giuliani's administration. Slow clap for that guy. To make a quick point, these people have clear interests in government policy. They profit from lower taxes on capital gains, lax antitrust, less financial regulation, and more junk fees. They aren't moderate per se. They are just protecting the interests of capital. Then there's Brian Frank, a financier who worked for tech billionaire Michael Dell. There's Michael Edwards, former merger and acquisitions banker turned hedge fund CIO, turned board member of Zippy, which does manufactured home loans, an area with significant regulatory issues. These people don't care about anything but their bottom line. They claim to be Democrats. They claim to be liberals. They claim to be moderate, but that's just a ruse. Okay? And they're showing exactly what they care about. They do not care about democracy. They do not care about fascism, as long as their profits are protected. That's precisely the reason why, in a time when there is an unprecedented crisis in American democracy, when you have openly illiberal forces that are behaving like tyrants, like despots, these people have decided the forces that have actively fought back against the growth of fascism in this country are their true enemy, because we are disruptive. We are disruptive to the status quo. We are disruptive to the goals of these fascists, okay? Because the reality of the matter is this fascist, corrupt, despotic leadership have actually protected the bottom line of corporations. I'll give you one example. Liberty Day. When Donald Trump rolled out his Liberty Day tariffs agenda, there was a lot of economic volatility. But for those close to the Trump administration, there was a unique and unprecedented opportunity. Many of them made very good market decisions in that crisis point. And then Liberation Day ended. Liberation Day turned into a spectacular failure. These tariffs were not created to protect the American consumers. These tariffs were not created to protect the American industry, although it was presented as such. And then the Supreme Court overturned the tariffs. The Trump administration started refunding people, but they didn't refund the consumers, because there's no way to refund the consumers for the additional cost that was carried over to the consumers. So you ended up paying more for goods as a direct consequence of the mediators that were paying these entry fees in the form of tariffs. That turned into inflation. For you, that turned into inflation. Your dollar was not as strong as it was prior to Liberation Day. But now, in the aftermath of the Supreme Court decision, the Trump administration has to pay back the tariffs that they got. And they're doing that right now. Amazon, Apple, these companies are getting billions of dollars. These companies are getting billions of dollars from the American government that you paid into the American government as a form of higher prices. You paid not the American government necessarily, but you paid the corporations higher prices because tariffs carried over to the consumers. So they made money on the front end, and now they're making money. The corporations are making money on the back end. It is a $160 billion wealth transfer directly from consumers back to corporations now. Zero wage growth. That means negative wage growth for you. That means your money doesn't go the same distance. Donald Trump did that. For the average American, this is devastation. For these guys, however, it's another Sunday. It's another Monday where things are going great. It is not a secret. It's not an accident that post-COVID there was a K-shaped recovery. No matter what happens, corporations are protected. Executives are protected. Their bottom lines, the bottom lines of the shareholders are always protected. You, on the other hand, have less purchasing power. You, on the other hand, have a harder time achieving the results that you want to achieve, upward social mobility. The timeline of when you could potentially retire gets longer and longer. It becomes less realistic that you will ever purchase a home for yourself and generate some kind of generational wealth. That is why I stress the importance that these people are our ops. They are our ops. They are not our allies, because their goal is to wage class warfare. They recognize their class position. They recognize that no matter what happens, the government under Democratic leadership, the government under Republican leadership will protect their interests. Meanwhile, your retirement is possibly not going to happen. Your nest egg is never going to take root. You're just not going to have a better future. And you feel that pressure and you get more and more angry. Then what do these people do? What does the Republican Party do? They take that anger and they take that populist rage that you have. I'm going to wait for a second because there's a minor F here. So the going gets tough for you, right? Your dollar doesn't go the same distance it once did. You have real problems paying for groceries. Then you got the media telling you maybe you should cut back. Back in the day, they used to tell you to cut back on avocado toast and matcha lattes. Now they say cut back on eggs. They tell you to purchase frozen burritos instead of getting a burrito at Chipotle. They say you don't deserve these things. And you get more and more frustrated. Then the reactionary forces take advantage of that frustration. Because when you're angry, you're not thinking straight. They take that anger and redirect it back to transgender athletes. They take that anger and redirect it back to socialist commentators on Twitch. They take that anger and redirect it back to people that have your best interest in mind. They tell you, I am your enemy. They tell you, we are the enemy of the American population. They lean into different distractions. They say, no, don't wage class war. Wage culture wars instead. It's gay people and queer culture that is actually taking away your dollars. That's stealing dollars out of your pocket. They don't even need to present a direct through line as to how that happens. Okay? They don't need to. They just say gay people scary, trans people scary. They say immigrants scary. They say socialism scary. Look at this fucking socialist Twitch streamer. Get mad at this socialist Twitch streamer instead. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. It's also unsustainable. But we have to make it unsustainable. We have to make sure that we fight back. Because if we lean into these reactionary distractions and we say, Hasan, don't you feel like you're at fault here? If we say things like, oh, it's your commentary, it's the way that you're talking about these issues. I agree with what you're saying, but don't you feel like you shouldn't get clipped out of context? Avoiding the form, avoiding the format, avoiding the medium that I have to deliver this message on. Do not concede on your opposition's framing. They do not have your best interest at heart. Never concede on oppositional framing. They are trying to distract you. They are trying to cut through what we have been able to organize here because they are worried. They're worried about democracy. They're worried about your voices being heard. They worry about the expression. They are worried about people organizing against these powerful entities. That's it. They're terrified. And they have decided that those who stick their head out from the masses and try to organize the masses to the best of their ability will be the first to go. After all, they're not after me. They're after you. I am simply your megaphone. I'm simply your platform. I'm your platform of real, true populist rage. And they hate to hear from us. They never want to hear from us. And they can't yell at you all the time. They can't say the voters are wrong. The working class is wrong for having these sorts of interests. The working class should focus on how bad Trump is and just vote for the Democratic Party, even if the Democrats don't actually offer them an alternative, offer them real solutions to the economic struggles that they're experiencing. They want to yell at you, but they can't. So they try to frame as many negatively framed clips as they possibly can find and dump it in front of all the boomers, your relatives, your parents, your grandparents who watch TV, who actually get their notes from TV. And they try to create this terrifying outrage to get your boomer parents, your boomer neighbors who are living very different, under very different circumstances, to feel like the true threat is not Trump. The true threat is not the corporate oligopoly that has been designed, the oligarchy. The true threat is actually a left Twitch streamer, a leftist Twitch streamer, or the Democratic Socialists of America. You have a lot more capacity to change people's minds, especially if you are always ever present in your communities, in your workplaces. So you have to push back against this propaganda because, let's be real, no prominent Democrat will do this. Prominent Democrats will privately come to me and say, we would really like your help here. We would really like your help there. Prominent Democrats that you would not expect, as a matter of fact. Now, I don't always play ball, as you guys have seen. I'm very open and honest about what I care about and what areas where I will push. Okay? Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. They are not going to come out. The liberals in the media, they're not going to come out and defend us. They're not going to come out and defend the DSA. They're not going to come out and defend someone like myself. As a matter of fact, the best I could expect from them is to, at the very least, not entertain the reactionary messaging. You understand? That's the best that we can expect. We have to solve this crisis. We are a nation in crisis, and we are the only people that have a real long-standing solution to this crisis. If it's socialism or barbarism, it is very clear that those who are unbelievably wealthy have planted their flag, drawn a line in the sand, and chosen which side they are on. That's precisely what Third Way is doing here. Anyway, let's continue.
And one man keeps propping them up. Far-left influencer Hasan Piker's sway over the Democrat Party is hard for the establishment to ignore at this point. And maybe some of them are concerned. So if they are, do they defend his catalog of incendiary remarks or disavow one of the most popular figures in the party? Oh, what a conundrum for them. This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-host Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us today, Molly Line, Fox News correspondent, Kayleigh McGee-White, Fox News contributor, and Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. Hasan Piker defended his relentless attacks against our nation, telling the National Review, quote, "I love America, and that's the reason why I criticize it endlessly. If I didn't love America, I wouldn't be here. I achieved the American dream, but very quickly I realized that dream is not accessible for everyone. I want to make sure that we have enough wealth in the country to offer that dream to as many people as possible." Well, the Free Press is digging into Hasan Piker's role on the campaign trail, arguing it is not really a revolution in American politics. Rather, it represents a slow evolution for a portion of the Democrat establishment. But some members of the Democrat establishment are warning candidates like Michigan Senate nominee Abdul El-Sayed sticking with Hasan Piker through November is a mistake. Here's Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman.
I just want to issue a dare. Continue to campaign with Hasan Piker right now. You're in a general election now. I dare you. I dare you. Keep campaigning with someone like Hasan Piker. You know, if I was a Republican, I would just dump $20 million for ads. He pals around with Piker, the guy that, on the 25th anniversary of 9/11.
Well, meanwhile, Piker is looking to repeat this week's victory in Michigan next week in Wisconsin, endorsing governor candidate Francesca Hong. Whew, that's going to be a heavy haul. Have you heard this woman? She has made several posts that echo, well, Hasan Piker, but she's a brand of her own, though. Shock jaw socialism. That's what she's about. Defund police, abolish ICE, abolish police, abolish the Senate. Police exist to uphold white supremacy. And also, I do not enjoy fireworks. Some posts she deleted, like the one calling to cancel Thanksgiving. Strategists on both sides of the political aisle are predicting Hasan Piker's popularity will backfire for the Democrats, who are so cozy with him.
Democrats have to live with this person who has palled around with Hasan Piker, who himself has become the scarlet letter of the Democratic Party.
To have your Senate nominees, and I agree with Senator Fetterman, palling around with Hasan Piker, anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-capitalist, really the most extreme kind of policies which are anathema to Bill Clinton Democrats.
He needs to get rid of that guy. Okay, he needs to disavow him. The fact that he's campaigning with him is just making ads for Mike Rogers.
I do want to say this, Kayleigh. It's not guilt by association. It's guilt by participation. I mean, look at Francesca Wong for just a second. Here's what she had to say. In the restaurant industry, when we are out of something, we say it's 86. And I'd say it's about effing time we 86 Trump.
Wow. This
is who we're talking about. And what have we heard Hasan Piker say? Cultural, societal murder. Maybe there's a reason to murder somebody if you don't agree with them. No. They're not just hanging out and palling around. These guys are thinking and communicating the same thoughts, and they're dangerous.
I love that you say guilt by participation. That is exactly what this is. I mean, look at what Hasan Piker has said. We've all been through this, but just to remind everyone, he praised Mao Zedong. Okay, so praise the guy who brought socialism to China and loss of freedom there. He said America deserves 9/11.
Killed millions of people.
Killed millions of people. Said America deserves 9/11. He walked that back a little. What else has he said? He has said that he would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time. We know what Hamas did. They put babies in oven on October 7th. Well, what does he think about October 7th, Hasan Piker? Hasan Piker has said that Israel polluted the evidence pool on October 7th. He talked about Sheryl Sandberg's documentary Screams Before Silence about women who went through atrocities. And he said that it's basically the unsubstantiated claims, that some of which were found to be incorrect. This man has whitewashed October 7th. So what does El Sayed do? Monday night, he goes to a pool party with the man who said America deserves 9/11 the day before his election, the most important political day of his life. What does he do the day of his election? Last night, I watched this man, El Sayed, on CNN be asked point blank, do you disown Hasan Piker? Here's what he said. I'm less focused on folks campaigning with me, more focused on folks I'm campaigning to. In other words, I do not disown Hasan Piker, the guy who said America deserves 9/11. And then finally, I see a CNN print article this morning. He said, I think people get really worried about Piker, but you think about who Mike Rogers has been palling around with. Mike Rogers has never palled around with anyone who said that we deserved a day when thousands of Americans died. That is what El Sayed has done, and shame on any Democrat who doesn't answer the way Paul Begala did, Van Jones, and a handful of others.
Talk to me about members in our Jewish communities and how the reaction should be.
Yeah. It's 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. But what's really interesting about it is, again, not only is Donald Trump the president, and he said on the morning of 9/11 that it was good that at least now, Trump Tower was the tallest standing building. You missed a lot. No, it's fine. I'm not going to rewind. But one thing that people need to understand, is this. This is our opposition. Your opposition does not have your best interest in mind. Okay? Our opposition, these fascists, do not have our best interest in mind. So if you are a Democrat, if you're a self-identifying liberal, if you're a social Democrat who is worried about the optics of the situation, okay? If you're worried about all this stuff, remind yourself, do these people care about my cause, what I represent, or are they trying to manipulate me? These people who I know lie all the time. Are they lying now? Are they framing things with a negative lens? Are they actually trying to get me to distance myself from the largest left-wing platform in the country? It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. They are trying to make lose. Yeah, of course. Their goal is to make them lose. People tell you, look, I'll be honest. If Fox News told me the sky is blue, I wouldn't believe them. Okay? If Fox News came out and said the sky is blue tomorrow, I would go and check for myself. I would not believe it. Okay? That's it. Also, the internet is going to be better in a little bit. Maybe I'm crazy for what I said, but I have heard what they have said over and over again. I know that they lie. Okay? They lie all the time. I know that they don't have my best interest in mind. They don't have your best interest in mind. It's that simple. So I, one, reflexively distrust what Republicans are saying. And I also reflectively distrust what liberals lean into. If liberals, self-identifying Democrats, are leaning into what the Republicans are saying and channeling that same frustration, echoing, mirroring their retorts, mirroring their lies, then I don't trust them either. What is remarkable is something that I jokingly mentioned is now becoming reality. The GOP is planning to frame the entire midterm strategy around myself and the Democratic Socialists of America. Republicans plan to use their first ever midterm convention in Dallas next month to mount a sweeping, made-for-primetime case that Democrats have become captive to their activist left. With President Trump's approval rating in the 30s and his war in Iran weighing on the economy, Republicans don't want November 3rd midterms to just be a referendum on his presidency. They're essentially planning a but their worst campaign targeting the ascendant Democratic left and socialism. Republicans will make progressive politicians and activists recurring characters throughout the September 9th and 10th convention at the American Airlines Center in Dallas. GOP operatives spent months compiling footage of Democratic figures, including left-wing commentator Hasan Piker and Texas U.S. Senate candidate James Tallarico, that they'll use throughout the convention to paint Democrats as outside the mainstream. Our video trove is endless, a convention source told Axios. Organizers will particularly focus on Abdul El-Sayed, the Democratic nominee for Senate in Michigan, who backs Medicare for All and criticizes Israel. Trump has blasted El-Sayed, a Muslim, as communist and a man of hate who hates Israel. El-Sayed, an epidemiologist, has said he's a capitalist who disagrees with Israel's actions in Gaza, not his sisters and brothers of the Jewish faith. So get ready. Get ready. They are going to come after us. They're going to come after me. They're going to come after DSA. They're going to come after our favorite politicians that we've worked tirelessly to get into a seat of power with endless ferocity. Okay? It is going to get so much worse than you think. They are going to basically make the more Pegasus dream a reality. The slop tubers on YouTube that have created an environment of some of the worst slopaganda. Now that sentiment is going to be echoed by a barrage of moneyed interest. Okay? Because this is not just going to be the GOP doing it. They're also going to push this message in every market. They're going to push this message in every single market. We have to be ready for it. We have to be disciplined. We have to push back. Okay? I will try to be as steadfast as I have been post October 7, and I will continue to do so. I will always be honest. There will be consultants on the Democratic Party side that masquerade as liberals that will collaborate with the Republicans to highlight this message. We have to push back. Months of polling shaped the GOP convention. Organizers say everyday Americans will tout Republican achievements on cutting taxes, lowering prescription drug costs, and improving border security. A tactic organizers say worked at the 2024 convention. They have nothing to lean on. They have nothing to stand on. Their platform is abysmal. So the only thing they think they can do is try to unite the consultant class, the corporate-backed mainstream media on both sides of the political spectrum, and the reactionary base that has an unlimited appetite for anti-communist sentiment and racial narratives. Okay? We have to harden our position. Because if we make it out alive from this barrage of misinformation, propaganda, and lies, we will be an unstoppable force in American politics. A message and an agenda that centers the needs of the working class. Regarding earlier discussion, as delusional as blind party loyalists are on both sides, ironically, one major takeaway from Dem strategy in 24 was we know things are still tough and there's more work to do. Republicans under Trump can't even do that now, or they'll get primaried out. The only room left for Republican candidates is to be completely obsequious. Yes. We cannot allow the Democrats in positions of power to try to cast aside or excise the left flank. We are the base. We are the base. We have captivated the interests. We are channeling the interests of the base. Okay? The consultants in the Beltway do not have a base. We do. We do. I'm one guy with like a 3-person operation. If I am capable of having this level of impact, okay? If I'm capable of having this level of impact, that means that there are far more people out there who can hear this message and identify with it, okay? Yeah, University of Washington canceled the Hasan Piker event, by the way. They did. Daniel Bessner invited me to UW. I was like, sure, I'll do it. And they got inundated with a barrage of botted emails. And then also they probably got a boss call. Let's be real. And instead of abiding by the principle of free expression on college campuses, they chose to do this. Now, is it a big problem? Not necessarily. But I do think it signals that our institutions of higher learning did not learn the lessons from the post-October 7 pressure campaigns that they experienced. And the reality of the matter is, if this had happened to Charlie Kirk, or if this had happened to Ben Shapiro, this would be the #1 news story on Fox News for a month. Will liberal outlets cover it with the same intensity? Or will they brush past the message or even agree with it? A similar thing took place in peak woke, where there would be a lot of protests on college campuses. That led to senators launching committee hearings. That led to the House of Representatives on the Republican side doing televised committee hearings where they brought deans and funders and students and professors to sit in front of Congress as they grilled them about not abiding by the First Amendment, not abiding by free expression on college campuses. This led discourse for years. Republicans successfully presented the Democrats as hating free speech because of this. But when it happens to our side, Democrats stay quiet. Even if you don't like me, you should use this as an opportunity. To the Democratic consultants, use this as an opportunity. You don't have to like everything I say. You don't have to agree with everything I say. Use this as an opportunity to show the Americans who do care about free speech that the Republicans are the real party that has destroyed free speech in this country and actively seek to do so. A state lawmaker told JNS on Background that multiple state legislators and groups, including Jewish ones, pressed the university to drop the event. Democrats are instead leaning into censorship once again at the behest and the direction of Israel. Democratic politicians are playing into the hands of the Republic that doesn't speak out against this. Any Democratic politician from Washington that doesn't speak out against this and present this as a real, ever-present danger to defending free expression on college campuses 3 years after October 7, mind you, is missing the forest for the trees. It's so funny how people call us sheepdogs while there isn't real supporters and centrists are fighting both tooth and nail to keep us from electing socialist and pro-Palestine candidates. Exactly. That's why all the more radical elements on the left, whenever they say I'm a Democratic Party sheepdog, I laugh. There is no equivalence here. There is no equivalence. There is no political force that captivates the attention of the base of one party that channels their frustration, that gets politicians that are more invested in representing the interests of the masses elected into office, that gets this level of animus from both sides of the DC consultant class, both sides of the commentariat, Republicans and liberals alike. There is no equivalence. On the other side, the Republicans used to have Charlie Kirk. He was an operative that worked within the ranks of the Republican Party. Charlie Kirk said a million things far more heinous than anything they can clip me out of context for. Far more heinous. Can you imagine a world? Can you imagine a world where people would use Charlie Kirk rallying with prominent Republican politicians as a way to attack said politicians? Can you imagine a world where Fox News would say, here we have a real rising concern coming from the Democratic side who are very excited about how radical Charlie Kirk is. Charlie Kirk is doing a rally with, a senator or a congressperson. And we on the Fox News side, we on the Republican media side have decided we have to cut our losses. We have to cut Charlie Kirk out of the equation. Can you imagine a world where that would happen? Of course not. Why are you treating Dems and Libs as innocent, naive bystanders that don't know what they're doing and need to be saved? I disagree. They're fucking racist. Okay, dude, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. There's two different kinds of liberals. There's the self-identifying liberals, the masses that are frustrated. And then there are those who are oppositional figures. Okay? I am sometimes communicating to the self-identifying liberal masses. Jesus Christ. You're not brilliant. You're not making a fucking brilliant point when you say shit like that. Okay?
But believe me, I'm not the great deceiver.
Yes, but isn't that exactly what the great deceiver would say? Well, on Tuesday, Hasan had his day at the polls, and he lost the Republican primary by nearly 20 points to Tom Smith, the guy with the handwritten FEC note, the guy who had raised less than $2,000, and the guy who had dropped out of the race. Why do you think that is? There is one and only one explanation for why that happened. In a party that is now utterly organized around open bigotry as its reason for being, as its last resort. Now, this is not a new story. We've seen it before, the Muslim ban. We've seen it the first moment that Trump announced his run in 2015. Trump's abuse of prominent Muslim and Arab American and Asian American politicians, the way they sort of bray and lose their minds over Ilhan Omar or Mamdani or El Sayed. And they'll demand that every Democrat denounce a leftist streamer while actual Republican elected officials up and down, from the president, the top, to Congress, to state houses across the country, are engaged day in, day out right now in a frankly racist project to make everyone with a last name like El Sayed or Hassan or Abdel Nabi feel like they are not really American, like they don't really belong here. And
I mean, that is at the heart of this. Yes, that is at the heart of this. The idea that we do not have the same bandwidth, that we can't have the concerns of Americans in mind, that we are outsiders, that we hate America. Why? Well, after all, we're not real Americans. Who's a real American? Donald Trump is a real American. Who's not a real American? AOC is not a real American. Abdul El-Sayed is not a real American. Look at their names after all. That's it. Simply put, that is the white nativist bullshit argument that they're presenting. And will there be people that fall for it? Absolutely. But it's important for us to put our best foot forward and to constantly, diligently organize around actual issues. To not cast aside even those people who oppose us as un-American. To say, look, you hate me. You think I love 9/11. You think that I want to do 9/11. You think I am a hater of all things America. But I still want you to have health care because that's the truth. That's the truth. I still think you can change your mind. I still think you can one day be by my side fighting for the exact same interests and the exact same values. Because at the end of the day, you also need shelter. You also need a roof over your head. You also need to put food on your table. You also have the exact same concerns. You also need health care. That's what we're organizing around. We want to make sure that you get that. And people, very wealthy, very powerful people, have made it seem like those who are defending healthcare, those who want to end the senseless militarism overseas, to basically bring all of that productive output back to the homeland, to make sure that our roads are fixed, our potholes are filled, our bellies are filled with hot meals that are affordable. Those people are your enemies. That's what they're trying to say. It's bullshit. So look, you can oppose me all day, every day. You can say I'm a terrorist. You can say I'm a dangerous radical. You can say, oh, I want Sharia law in this country. I just want you to have health care. I'm going to fight for it no matter what you say. Okay? I want you to have a better future. I want you to have better job prospects. I want you to be able to on a single income, take care of a family. Okay? That's what I want. That's what I will continue to fight for. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they say. What matters is who we are, what we represent, and what we will continue to fight for, regardless of what the opposition says about us. Things are going to get worse. They're going to get far worse. We have to lean into our allies and sometimes maybe even organize with people that we never thought we would be organizing with. That is what the current environment requires. Okay? Lucky for many of you in this community, at least, I have never decided to cast aside potential allies, regardless of how much my community yells at me over it. Because I understand what must be done. I understand what this moment requires. I understand the dangers of inaction, especially in this moment. Every single person in this community at some point was a self-identifying liberal. You went through that transformation. You went through that individual ideological journey. You can make sure that you use your own personal journey to help others go along that same track. None of you were born as card-carrying Marxists, card-carrying socialists. You learned. You experienced. You lived through capitalism. You experienced the contradictions. You experienced the struggle. And that led you down this path. No one is born a socialist, especially not born a socialist in a capitalist economy, in a capitalist world. Okay? Going back to it, though. Organizers believe they will reinforce the argument that Republicans are focused on kitchen table issues while Democrats have been overtaken by left-wingers whose policies will hurt Americans. The problem is, Democrats for the longest time, the National Democratic Party for the longest time, have actually represented not necessarily kitchen table issues in which they say we can make incremental gains, no bold radical sweeps that are necessary, right? But instead hyper-focused on things that come across as less serious to the masses, less serious to the working class. Okay? This is why we have to be very disciplined. We have to be very bold. We have to be very brave. And we have to abide by messaging discipline. The reason why Zoran won, the reason why Abdul Al-Sayed won is because he overcame all of the insincere smears and lines of attack if their side is saying this guy is a scary Muslim, and our side is saying this scary Muslim is not so scary, this scary Muslim simply wants to give you health care, which message will resonate more with the masses? Liz Smith has always liked Zohran Mamdani. It's not new. Liz Smith has always liked Zohran Mamdani. This is not a new statement from her. A lot of liberals like Zohran. Republicans will spotlight Trump's tax exemption for some tipped income. Other points will be Vice President Vance's anti-fraud task force. As for the increasingly unpopular war in Iran, the GOP will make the case that Trump has taken steps to protect Americans. Vance will speak at the evening of September 9 and Trump on September 10. Trump is expected at the convention hall both nights. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and some other administration officials will have big speaking roles. Unlike in 2024, when donors and delegates filled the floor, the crowd in Dallas will be mostly MAGA activists. The convention will commemorate the first anniversary of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Yeah. GOP operatives spent months compiling footage of Democratic figures, including left-wing commentator Hasan Piker and Texas U.S. Senate candidate James Tallarico, that they'll use throughout the convention to paint Democrats as outside the mainstream. So remember, liberals, remember, your darlings on the left, on the liberal side of the spectrum, are also in the crosshairs. You will not be able to distinguish yourself from us. I know that you think they're attacking James Tallarico because James Tallarico is more likely to win the Texas race, which is true. But if you personally think that they would not attack James Tallarico if I didn't exist, you're a fucking idiot. Just understand that they make no distinction between us and liberals. They've always called Nancy Pelosi a socialist. They've called Kamala Harris a communist. It doesn't matter what you self-identify as. They call Chuck Schumer a Palestinian. So when you lend credence to the oppositional framing as a self-identifying liberal, whether you be an elected representative like Josh Gottheimer, or whether you be in charge of the Center for American Progress, a prominent liberal think tank like Neera Tanden, you are lending credence to your oppositional framing when you engage in left bashing, and you are making this broader movement weaker altogether. Stop doing it if you actually do care about defeating Republicans, about defeating MAGA, about defeating Trumpism. It's that simple.
To these candidates. And Hasan Piker aside for a moment, because look, he's not the only one. Maybe he's the new kingmaker, but there are a lot of these folk who are rising.
Let me deal with Hasan Piker first, and I'll answer your question directly. Partially, yes, Hasan Piker is a problem. The reason I say partially is because this is about the candidates before it's about a podcaster who most Americans have never heard of. So Republicans have to work very hard to educate the American people about who this horrible Hasan Piker is. The first thing, if you're on a campaign, that you need to do is define your opponent. You have to start where Kayleigh finished. You talked about how Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan made those statements, didn't disavow Hasan Piker, et cetera. It's about the candidate's behavior. You have to beat the candidate, not the friends of the candidate. So he is enticing, but he is not the one Republicans are running against. You've got to put the candidates front and center first, and then you can tie them to Hasan Piker. As for Jews, this is a frightening turning point in American history. Both parties have historically, thankfully, been the home of pro-Israel, pro-Jewish life in America. That's turning now.
Not even true. The Republican Party has always been pro-Israel, but never pro-Jew, let's be real. And the Democratic Party is no longer pro-Israel, but still certainly pro-Jew. The idea that the Democrats, by and large, are now bigoted towards Jews is fucking ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. First of all, 75% of American Jews vote Democrat consistently. That's number one. Number two, American Jews have American interests, okay? American Jews don't have Israeli interests. They are American first. They care about things that are happening here. Anti-Semitism certainly is one of those things that they care about. But if you were to say that our side is the side that is fomenting anti-Semitism, well, you couldn't be further from the truth. Republicans have always been the bigoted side. Their base is the one that wants anti-Semitism. Our base, if you were to present me as the arch anti-Semite in media, well, there's plenty of evidence to show that that is completely fabricated. And there is truth to the reality. There's truth to the reality that American Jews, by and large, favor these supposed anti-Semites anyway, like Zohran Mamdani. American Jews like Zohran Mamdani far more than they like Benjamin Netanyahu, far more than they like other prominent politicians, and certainly far more than they like AIPAC. And for months and months, they said Zohran Mamdani is going to do Sharia law. He's going to purge all the Jews. Totally fucking ridiculous. A lot of people are defending you this time around. No, these guys are always on the independent media front. Like, these guys are our allies. I mean, I'm glad that someone is defending me. You know, we're going to need a lot more. The reality of the matter is we're going to need a lot more defense from unlikely allies as well, including but not limited to prominent members of liberal media. People who have in the past attacked me because they care about people who have in the past attacked me because they care about Israel's interests, not people who are anti-Zionist. These guys are anti-Zionist.
Media and liberal media, whatever that is, it's the same shit. Yeah. It's been talking about Hasan Piker nonstop this week.
Yeah, because that's their boogeyman. That's just their new boogeyman. And this is, if there's one thing that the right does effectively, is get their talking points and then stick to them. And here's the thing: if it really was about what Hasan Piker said, Bill Maher has said just as offensive things. People need to understand that it's not Hasan Piker that upsets them. It's the fact that the message of economic justice that Abdul Al-Sayed is saying is so effective, it's resonating. They can't attack the message, so they are going to try to delegitimize the messenger. And so as you see these attacks, the best can do is to recognize that these cultural wars are being waged for one reason alone, is to make you forget about the fact that gas is $5, $6 a gallon. It's to make you forget about the fact that housing is unaffordable. It's to make you forget about the fact that you can't breathe the air right now because of the wildfires caused by climate change. It's to make you forget about the fact that this government bombed a school in Iran and killed 165 schoolgirls. It's to make you forget about the fact that AIPAC is spending tens of millions of dollars to elect people to the U.S. government so that they can send billions of dollars to Israel and not to fix the infrastructure that's broken and troubling, not to get us the healthcare that we need, not to get us to public schools. Don't buy into the culture wars of the hypocrisy among corporate Democrats. Because, look, I don't need to endorse Hasan Piker's comments. I don't care. In fact, at all. I wouldn't say that. But what I will say is that if you can look past Andrew Cuomo, if you can look past Bill Clinton and their perpetual sexual abuse, I mean, if you ever get a chance to read the report that the New York Attorney General, James, put together about Cuomo and the women that he sexually abused and the level of sexual abuse that he committed, then go back and look at the people who endorsed Cuomo.
Brian Tyler Cohen defended you. And now the Destiny community is after him. Wait, why is this in Hebrew? Seems like he's taking the right side. I imagine his audience is probably going to give him shit for it. I don't think his audience is Destiny freaks. They're mostly normie libs. Destiny subreddit probably butt mad, though. That's good. I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad that Brian Tyler Cohen understands the moment and what these fucking assholes are doing. You know? The reality of the matter is, there have been moments in the past where Republicans have targeted liberals, prominent liberals who I don't agree with, ideologically align with, and I've defended those liberals because I understand the broader problem. Okay? I understand that an institution that goes after the likes of Brian Tyler Cohen, for example, even if I have disagreements with him at times, will certainly come after me as well. And it's not even a mechanism of self-preservation that guides me to defend even liberals who are being targeted by this administration. Okay? The reason why I defend these people is because of my principles. Because I don't think it's appropriate for the fascist government to go after liberals and left-wing content creators or socialists. I know where we are headed. It's that simple. I've said this from the start. This is not about me. Okay? This is not about me. I'm just one person. But even if I were to go away, because, you know, I received far too many attacks and I couldn't deal with it anymore. I was like, I got to log off for my mental well-being. The anger would not go away. The resentment and the frustration would not go away. Because the anger and the frustration that people are currently experiencing, they're not experiencing because they tuned into my broadcast and were like, oh my God, before this broadcast, I thought the economy was awesome. But now that I heard from Hasan about how it ain't sweet out here, now I'm mad. That's not the reality. That's not how this works. I can only be a megaphone, a platform for your populist rage. They're so dumb they can't see that attacking didn't work with Zoran. It's different. No, Zoran is in a different predicament. He's in elected office. Democrats have to rally around those in elected office, especially popular ones like Zoran. I, on the other hand, am an outsider. I, on the other hand, am not a part of the Democratic Party's infrastructure in the way that Zoran is. Okay? So no, for many in the Democratic Party, I present a far graver threat than Zoran Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani, at the end of the day, I love him, but Zoran Mamdani and AOC did their cross-promotion and cross-endorsements, but Zoran kept it mostly to New York City. Zoran Mamdani is not out there stumping for Donovan McKinney, Mayla Quiros. Zoran Mamdani is not going to go out there and stump for Abdul El-Sayed. There's a limit to what Zoran can do. There's no limit to what I can do. There's no limit to what we can do in this community. Of course, we work hand in hand. We work side by side because I would not be able to successfully organize people by pointing them to a successful example like Zoran's form of governance. So Zoran stays in his lane, I stay in mine, and we work together. Every bill that's written by the new insurgent Democrats, the Democratic Socialists of America candidates that win, will add to this movement. Okay? Every instance of popularity or every instance of successful sewer socialism by Zoran Mamdani will prove to everyone in the country that good governance can be achieved as long as we have electeds that are interested in representing the masses rather than corporate interests. This was the reason why I wanted Zoran to win. This was the reason why I believed in him. It's not like it's a secret. I said it all the time. One of the first things I said after Zoran's victory was, thank God. Now he has made my job much easier. And I knew full well that he would be able to accomplish his agenda, even if at times I had disagreements. Sometimes he was right. I'll give you one example. If you recall, I thought Zoran was making a mistake by petitioning against Chi Ose running to unseat Hakeem Jeffries. He was right. I was wrong. Okay? Every time I've found an instance where I'm at odds with Zoran Mamdani, he's proven himself to be the reliable ally. I'm man enough to admit it. Every victory that Zoran has in terms of good governance in New York City will have positive reverberations for our movement in the heartland. Every pothole that is fixed, every issue that is taken care of in New York City reminds Americans of a different path forward, an alternative to what they've seen from their governments. No problem is too small for the Mamdani administration in New York City. That is how you govern. That is how you associate good governance with democratic socialism. Perhaps that's precisely the reason why they oppose, maybe not Zoran anymore, because they can't, because he's too powerful and too popular of a being, too popular a force in American politics in such a short period of time. So they go after the media. They go after the propaganda apparatus. They go after myself. That's it. This is a multifaceted approach. Now let's talk about Zoran.